Welcome to Wild. I'm your host, Robin Lavasser. They say our biggest fear is not that we are inadequate. It's being powerful beyond measure. In this podcast, I will share how to break through imaginary ceilings, lean into success, discovering your purpose, and understanding how to create the business and life of your dreams. From failures to triumphs and all the tactics in between, let's jump into the wild arena together. Welcome back to Wild with Robin Lavasser. So glad that you are here today. I write an email. And I started this, I've always loved to write. And so one of the things I'll kind of start the podcast with today is talking about the fact that if you have something that you love to do, that's kind of a 2X, if you will, maybe therapeutic to you, but then also able to serve others and have a purpose, if you will, behind it. I have loved to write for a very long time. It's something that I used to do a lot more of. And I think it's been a little bit of a lost art in my world where instead you're just kind of typing emails and typing texts and talking on the phone. And so I really wanted to get back to writing / storytelling / kind of helping make moves. And when I was an originator, which I will say I'm forever an originator, I would write a letter of the heart every single month. And I absolutely loved writing a letter of the heart because it just shared a piece of me. It generally had a lesson of some sort, a story, something that hopefully, yes, came from my heart, but hopefully impacted somebody else's. And even if nobody read it, it didn't matter because it was something that I could get out on paper. Well, I decided to start something as a leader called Ripple Effect. And thank you, ChatGPT, for helping me name it. And it's really about, when you think about the ripple effect, it's, throwing a big rock into, let's call it a still lake. And no matter how big the rock, if you will, when you throw a rock into a lake, you see the ripples, right? And at some point they stop. But the goal is, right, who can create the biggest ripple, if you will, meaning that it continues to kind of permeate outwards and make a difference. And so I thought the ripple effect was so fitting for the goal of me writing little stories about things like the time that somebody taught me that if I read emails in the voice of Minnie Mouse, which I still use that lesson today, that I will feel less combative, possibly offended, frustrated, snippy back, those kind of things. And I love to write stories about not only things that have happened in my past, but things that have happened in the future or others have shared with me and are willing to let me share a little bit more with the world and kind of giving my spin on it. And so I've been writing Ripple Effect every week and it's really been this joy. And every single Monday it comes out and, people will write back. Some weeks you don't hear from anyone. And some weeks, you get feedback from people that like, gosh, this was timely or this really sticks with me. Sometimes people write a whole, I wrote one a little bit referencing my dad and, people wrote back all of this wonderful stuff. I did one on my 2 grandbabies that have cystic fibrosis and, people wrote back and just shared beautiful pieces of themselves. And that's what I love in general about storytelling or really listening or engaging with people is that it often provokes, if you will, their willingness to share something with you. And isn't that the point, right? That we all share together. Well, I kind of botched during this transition that I've been in and Ripple Effect fell by the wayside. And there's so many metaphors that I want to share in this podcast about what it really means to lose momentum. Because momentum is such a huge piece. I talk about this a lot. I think we underestimate, we almost take it for granted when we have it, how hard it is to get it back once you lose it. And so I want to talk for a few minutes just about momentum in general, because I was in momentum on Ripple Effect. And that's such a small thing, but every Monday without fail, it was going out. In fact, it was generally ready on Sunday night, or I was maybe even a week ahead, and they were able to get sent out right away. And during this transition, one of the things that I chose to make a excuse for or a reason of was, I'll get back to Ripple Effect later. Well, 1 week goes by, 2 weeks go by, 3 weeks go by, 4 weeks go by. And all of a sudden I was like, enough. I have to get it back out there. And so I wrote my first one on this very thing, what it means to lose momentum. And it's such an interesting thing because you almost think maybe people aren't even paying attention, right? I love the story that somebody shared with me once where they were like, the mom was like, why aren't you going to dance at the dance? And they were like, I don't want kids to make fun of me. And the mom said, you're not that special, meaning the whole world isn't constantly paying attention to what we're doing. So I was like, people probably haven't even noticed, but I need to get back into it. One, it's great for me and my heart, but two, I'm hoping that it definitely serves and connects with others. And so I started writing and I was like, what am I going to write the first one about in this transition? And I don't ever want it to be totally mortgage specific. And I thought losing momentum in this is a really good thing to write about. And so I think that momentum in general is one of the most underestimated forces in our lives. So when you think about your relationships having momentum, when your household having momentum, when your savings account has some momentum, when your employer or your progression at work has some momentum, when your faith has continued to have momentum, right? Forward progress, if you will, is kind of synonymous with momentum. And sometimes we don't even realize that we have it, but then you feel it big time when it's gone. And it's like, what's missing? What's lost right now? And the problem is when we're in the rhythm of something and we truly have momentum, it starts to feel easy until it's not, right? It's like, I think about jumping rope and you kind of start slow and then pretty soon you can go a little faster and you get momentum going. But then all of a sudden you maybe fail even getting that first jump on the jumping rope going 3 or 4 times. Like you can't get back into rhythm. Man, you lost momentum. And so when I think about it, something that feels natural and kind of off to the races all of a sudden felt hard. It felt a little daunting. It felt overwhelming. It felt like the easiest thing to make an excuse about for one more week. But it was still nagging me every single week. Like, you got to get Ripple done. You got to get Ripple done. You need to go back to it. And anything that stays like that, I always say that in our lives that there should be a heck yes or a heck no, right? Like I'm either going to go all in and do this and do it well, or I need to take it off the calendar and not have anything to do with it. I think part of that comes with stage of life. I think you have a little less choices of what you absolutely have to do, possibly in your younger years or into your 20s. And then as you grow, you have more choices and decisions. That's a podcast for a different day. But I think the interesting thing about momentum for me, ripple effect, if you will, is it's not like it said, hey, take this off the list, take it off, ask me for permission, if you will, to just be gone take a month off and then come back to it. It wasn't like that. It was like full of me making reasons and excuses in my head, pushing it to the back of the line, but then it's still being there on my mental to-do list, which means it's taking up space somewhere and it's not joyful because it's not getting executed, right? It's sitting there like bills piling up, if you will, that you're in avoidance of versus action, right? Taking action on. And avoidance anytime doesn't feel great. And when I realized it, I thought to myself, it's kind of embarrassing. Like writing an email for me and sharing my heart and telling a story, which every single day, I feel like the world is showing you and teaching you so much. Other humans are giving you plenty of lessons, i.e., things that happen at work, circumstances, home, all of those things. There's plenty of things for all of us to speak about, to share, whether it's a small story, a funny little story, whatever it may be. It's all there. The data's there, but I wasn't committing the time. And so I had to get back to it. And when I finally started working on getting it done, it really came back to me pretty quickly. And then yesterday I got all these emails back when I sent out the ripple effect. And people were like, oh gosh, I'm so glad it's back. And then other people were, oh, give yourself grace. You didn't, you've obviously had a lot going on. And the truth is, we should give ourselves grace. We should be able to sprinkle it in, but accountability almost feels better. Accountability almost feels better than grace, especially on things that you absolutely know that you need to do, because it is so easy for reasons over results to show up in our lives. And we end up, whether it's missing a workout, canceling on plans that you had, blowing through an appointment, whatever it may be, there are just things that we delay, that we distract ourselves from, and we allow it. And it's such an easy thing to write a narrative that says, hey, it's okay, you'll get it, you'll get to it next week. And while I love not, hey, I'm gonna beat myself up every day for skipping that ripple effect, the truth is grace is hey, you didn't get it done today, but like, let's get it done tomorrow, right? Like if this is a priority, get it on the calendar, take actionable steps, hold yourself accountable, and don't miss. Because the moment you get it started again, the moment you hit that gym again, the moment that you get ahead of paying off your credit cards every single month, the moment you're, getting ahead again of getting back on track to doing a budget in your household, the moment you get ahead again on making prospecting calls in anything in sales in general, right? Lending, real estate, the moment you get ahead again of following the right process process and checklist with every single client on a consultation, all of a sudden it starts to come back to you. But to build momentum, you've got to start doing it over and over and over again. And what's really interesting is it feels so much better to get it done than to skip it. It's so temporary to say, I don't have time right now and skip something, but you don't feel good about it later. But when you get it done, even if you didn't want to, you always feel a sense of pride later because you battled yourself, right? And you won. You ultimately won. You rewarded yourself with taking action. So I think that one of the things is none of us are trying to be perfect, but we are trying to be consistent. And even when it's not convenient, even when there's a lot on your plate, even when you're not at your best, small actions will sustain momentum for sure. And sustained momentum will create the results that you want. And so when people got back to me yesterday and said, I needed this today, I'm so glad it's back. I love sharing pieces of that. Now, there's no paycheck that comes with a ripple effect or no big, impact or those kind of things. But I like to share and I like to feel connected. And I think it allows for me on a bigger reach in my leadership role to connect with more people and show them that, hey, I'm sharing a piece of my heart and I love to hear back from them at the same time. Skipping it didn't have me feeling good. It was almost like I was skipping a workout. Putting it back on the calendar, I was like, and we're back. Let's go. Let's get this stuff done. So assess in your own business, in your own personal life, where did you lose momentum? And at what moment are you going to decide to put it back on the books and to take the action and to win the battle with yourself and get moving forward again, make that forward progress and ultimately set yourself up for as many wins / atta-girls or atta-boys as possible. If this was helpful for you, I hope that you share it. If you ever want to be on the Ripple Effect email distribution, just shoot me an email. I would love to hear from you. And it is my first name last name @ccm.com. So shoot me an email and we'd love to get you on the distribution. We'll see you on the next Wild.